Assalamu alaikum ji. Welcome back to another episode of Kahe, Kazi. My guest today was Nida Khan, journalist, psychotherapist, women's empowerment proponent. Good. Proponent. We get to talking about the taboos around mental health, about how people need to use neutral language to get to people, how it's all right, it's enough for you to simply listen, and what we need to do going forward to combat the mental health crisis that we find ourselves in. Enjoy. 3, 2, 1. Nida Khan. How you doing, Nida?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm wonderful, wonderful. You were telling me about how you used to be an actor.
I used to be an actor for national TV about 4 years ago now, actually.
Wow.
2017, I stopped acting. And it was a fun experience till it wasn't.
What do you mean it wasn't?
No, there's nothing sinister there.
all right,
It's
all right.
just the very typical, एक तो पैसे नहीं देते time पे.
नहीं सही वो तो है.
And I've spoken about this before also at length. दूसरा फिर very honestly projects मिलने कम हो गए थे because I was either getting very vampish roles but I was an angry woman कि मैं दूलों के घर खराब कर रही हूँ, या फिर मुझे बिल्कुल ऐसे मिल रहे थे कि oh my god मैं बेचारी सती सावित्री, मुझे मारते रहो, मैं कुछ नहीं करूँगी.
But औरतें तो दो ही किस्म की होती हैं.
Obviously, right? So that's what you propagate, right?
What's your problem?
Exactly. So I was the third kind of औरत and I always have been in my life.
There's no such thing.
Exactly. तो ये बहुत बड़ा मसला था कि मैं रोज जिस चीज़ के बारे में बाहर जाके लोगों से बात करती हूँ कि women should be empowered और independence होनी चाहिए
Absolutely, inshallah.
और काम होना चाहिए और ये और वो whatever, वो सारे जाके I don't mind me saying it or cut it out, but they used to go shit on it. I used to go shit on it
Yeah.
by acting in these plays जहाँ पे मेरे ऊपर जुल्म हो रहा है और मैं कह रही हूँ नहीं सब सही है, मुझे अपने cousin से ही शादी करनी है, please. तो
Very well acted.
yeah,
That's very
thank
good.
you, thank you. So I was just like no. I was like एक तो यार काम भी बड़ा स्लो है, पैसे भी नहीं दे रहे, मतलब मेरा पे चेक जनवरी में ड्यू था, मई तक रिलीज हुआ, तो by that time I was in kind of debt also, like debt also because I support the house.
माशाल्लाह.
तो I was like ये bread and butter नहीं हो सकता मेरा.
नहीं.
I can only do pleasure like passion projects which I like. फिर मैं पैसों पे मुझे compromise नहीं करना पड़ेगा. I had a journalism की degree. So I fell back on that.
Wow.
And I have been with the Tribune for the last 3 years now.
Mashallah,
Yeah.
mashallah.
I'm their blogs editor. Yeah.
That's a very well respected publication. That's not like some of the other ones. Never mind that. but all right. And I suppose the problem then became वो बंदा थोड़ा ज़्यादा hypocritical feel करने लगता है कि यार I'm perpetuating this because you are. It doesn't matter how many people you speak to. Unfortunately, a better delivery system is always going to be a movie or a show.
Or a show.
But
yeah.
you did say that one of yours is going to be on Amazon Prime, which is
One of them is on Amazon Prime. One of my
Alright.
shorts called Kiya is on Amazon Prime. It has gotten a great response from all over the world. Basically, हम लोग जो है हमने 5 मिनट की short बनाई थी on mental health.
all right.
The reason why I did it was because one of my very good friends, who's also a great director, not because he's my friend, he was directing the project. He called me up. He's like, Nida, I can't pay you much, but let's just do this. And I
Yeah.
was like, send me the script, and I really liked it. And I was like, I don't care. I wanted to work with you. Let's just do this.
Inshallah. Yeah, that's amazing.
So that's how we started doing it. And हमने पहले 5-10 मिनट की बनाई, फिर universities में circulate हुई वो around the world. People gave a very good response. We got a bit of funding for it. So then we made a 15-minute 15-minute was the first one. Then we made a 24-minute version, which did its circuit run. It went to a lot of places. It went to Locarno in Switzerland, where it won. It went to Korea, South Korea का जो Busan Film Festival होता है, वहाँ जीती.
Mashallah.
Yeah, Wahab's nodding his head. Wahab knows what's going on.
Yo, Wahab knows. Wahab knows, like, he knows more.
Yeah,
I'm
so
just under a rock.
right. So then we got funded and we were told कि आप इसकी script लिखें, develop it into a movie. So that's what happened. And अब उसकी funding हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि उसका क्या होता है. So hopefully by next year we should sort that out.
Yeah, and you're going to be a big time actor. Are you going to come back
Come back where?
on the show?
Yeah, of course,
I'm
of
gonna need
course.
to
I don't know about big time actor, but मुझे project करने में बड़ा मजा आया because there were nuances to my character. फिर mental health पे था. It was based on an actual case study of somebody who goes through psychosis. So doing it was क्योंकि mental health I'm very big on.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are. I'll put that in the introduction as well, but that's how I found you on the gram.
Yeah,
That's
on
what
the
the kids say these days.
Yes.
Gram.
So cool.
Yes, the coolest. So on Instagram, you were speaking about your personal battles with mental health, but also the stigma and the taboo around conversations pertaining to mental health generally.
Yes.
Okay, and we spoke a little bit about it before we started recording about people substituting religion, diving headfirst into religion, and thinking that somehow makes them impervious to mental health problems and all those things. So I would love to get into that whenever, but I think that also working on this project is brilliant also because that's exactly why you stopped acting.
Yeah.
You know, because you wanted this nuance, you wanted, and also you wanted to propagate something good, something more than, you know.
And I think the best thing that came out of this project was कि जब हम लोगों ने locally उस project को दिखाया, Liaquat Medical showed it at Lincoln Corner. Then somebody else also approached us. Taskeen approached us, you know, and they decided to circulate it around in Pakistan. It went to Lahore and Islamabad also. The Swiss embassy showed it in Islamabad. So the one good thing that came out of it was कि जब हम question answers के लिए बैठते थे बाद में, तो people would stick around.
Wow.
And people would talk about their experiences with mental health. People would tell us कि उन्होंने क्या-क्या देखा है. Some of them were more ready to talk about themselves. Some were ready to talk about other people they had seen. A lot of the questions that came up were around हम कैसे help कर सकते हैं किसी और की. हमें पता चलता है कि मेरा दोस्त depressed है या कोई depressed है, तो हम उसको कैसे help कर सकते हैं. So I saw that it was, even if it was starting it in a very small group, because obviously like इतना काम हो रहा है यहाँ पे नहीं पता चलता सबको. But I was like चलो at least 40 लोगों ने देखी, उसमें से 20 रुके, उन्होंने सवाल जवाब किए. They found out कि they can help themselves or who they can go to, because we were sitting with the psychologist as well on the panel. I was there and I was still studying therapy. You know, so we spoke about, so it was like a nice little thing. Then I was like chalo, at least this is making some of a difference to maybe 1 or 2 people. You know,
I think the goal is just to start the conversation, because this is bigger than like any of us. I mean, you're obviously playing a much bigger role in this conversation than I am, but I think it's bigger than all of us. I think just generally it's for everyone, and I think the narrative of inclusivity is essential.
Yeah.
ऐसा नहीं, वही जो हम पहले ही बात कर रहे थे about hijacking narratives. मैं आपको बताता हूँ आपके साथ क्या मसला है. नहीं जी, alhamdulillah, I have a voice. I can speak for my, exactly, right? Like, oh yeah, you know, you must have whatever gone through such and such female problems. No, let me tell you, they're not female problems, they're Nida Khan's problems.
Yeah.
Very nuanced. Not all females have this problem, some don't. जो भी है. But हाँ, certified therapist now, mashallah se.
Yes, I'm doing my practice hours. आपको 100 hours of practice करने होते हैं. So I'm doing those right now, but I'm certified to see clients and practice on them. It sounds very horrible. मैं कोई experiments नहीं कर रही लोगों पे. And I have a supervisor who keeps me in check, and I have a personal therapist also who keeps me in check.
Yeah.
तो दोनों चीजें बहुत ज़रूरी होती हैं. एक supervisor जो आपको सिर्फ case के हिसाब से बताता है. Let's suppose if some client I'm stuck with, so I can't talk about the client per se.
No.
I can't tell them कौन है क्या है. मैं एक general outline दे सकती हूँ, caricature खींच सकती हूँ कि भाई this is the problem and this is what they're dealing with, right? कि मैं यहाँ फंस रही हूँ, can you please help me out? How should I take this process further? What can I do? Technique लगाऊँ, सुनती रहूँ, क्या करूँ, right? So that facility I have, and then personal अपने जो मसले हैं, अगर फर्ज करें जैसे बहुत दफ़ा थेरेपी में मसला ये होता है कि अगर आपने अपनी चीज़ें प्रोसेस नहीं की हुई हो ना, तो फिर वो बाहर आती हैं.
Absolutely.
अब let's suppose I'm sitting and talking to you and you bring up कि let's suppose something like, you know, even dating for example.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm not processed and I think वो मेरे दिमाग में है कि नहीं अल्लाह कोई dating नहीं होनी चाहिए, तौबा. So you never know that I give you a response. मेरा knee-jerk reaction जो पहला ना, you say dating and I just make a face.
Yeah.
And the problem with that face is कि वो इतना से अभी ना therapy room में जब दो लोग एक दूसरे के मुंह को देख रहे होते हैं ना, तो पता चलता है कि क्या है.
Yes.
You pick up on that, especially as a client, because I've been on the other side. I've been a client for like 3 years now.
Yes.
और मेरा therapist ना 2 दफ़ा he tried to stifle a yawn करके, and I caught him and I was like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I was like, it's all right. I know the session's gone on for a bit. You can yawn, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I was very surprised that I picked it up and I was like, चलो जो दूसरा बंदा बैठा होगा ना, वो भी ऐसे ही मुझे देख रहा होगा, उनको भी पता चलेगा, so I'll just be as genuine as possible in my body. So they know that I'm authentic.
Yeah.
But you know, I kind of forgot what I started this point with.
You were talking about, I forgot as well.
This is good.
This is wonderful.
Great. It's unedited. This is what happens when 2 people sit and talk. They forget what they're talking about.
I just no. You were talking about how to be with a therapist, and you were saying that you have with your organization you have conventions in place, no? So there's a supervisor.
Yes,
personal
and there's
therapist.
a therapist.
Yeah.
And I was saying that But मसला the reason why a personal therapist is very important in this is कि बहुत दफ़ा जो आप अगर फ़र्ज़ करें आप सुनते हैं ना कि therapist मेरा judgmental था, कभी कभार तो आपका material भी होता है, लेकिन बहुत दफ़ा ऐसा होता है कि therapist वाकई में आपको ऐसे इशारे देता है that they feel judgy. I've heard people say कि हम गए therapist के पास, उन्होंने हमें आगे से ऐसा response दिया, एक से पूछ लिया तुम नमाज पढ़ते हो कि नहीं.
Wow.
Again, that's material that if a client brings to you, you can take it.
Yeah.
I have a couple of clients who do have religious inclinations, who do bring it up themselves, and then
that's
I talk to
beautiful.
them about it, and that's up to them.
Yeah.
But I can't sit here and be like, oh, listen, do you pray? Do you not pray? Oh my God, Allah maaf kare. Tum namaz nahi padhte to ye. That's not my job.
No.
Right? My job as a therapist is not to fix your religious orientation.
Absolutely
it's
not.
to talk you through your emotional stuff. Agar religion usme attached hai, I'll take care of that. But agar nahi hai, to I won't try and force it in.
I think that as a muashra, na, we take this liberty with conversations about religion. We just
we take liberty. Sorry, I'm cutting you off, but we take a lot of liberties about a lot of conversations.
Well, generally conversations we take liberty. We're like, I'll tell you how you're feeling,
Yeah.
right? But with religion, especially because they're like, there is an absolute right and an absolute wrong, and it's not wrong; it's evil. So there's an absolute good, there's an absolute evil. Later on, maybe we can get into my studies of moral philosophy.
Of course.
Isme ek banda tha, Friedrich Nietzsche, and he spoke about the genealogy of morals, where good and evil comes from, per se, right? But yeah, it's just a imperative that the muashra just puts on you, ke bhai, and they feel ke they can take liberty with that. They would never ask you about your bank account, right? They would never ask you about any of those things. They'll never ask you if you're abusing your wife or whatever. No,
Never.
God forbid. No, that's personal stuff.
Yeah, of course.
लेकिन नमाज पढ़ते हो, फिर बस सब सही है.
सब सही.
अगर नमाज नहीं पढ़ते हो, फिर सब बुरा है. No wonder you beat your wife. What if I'm praying and then beating my wife?
That's okay. नहीं, वो ठीक है.
हाँ,
तुम
वो
माफी
ठीक है.
मांग लेते हो ना नमाज पढ़ते हुए, ठीक है.
Yeah. But anyways, we were also speaking about your religiosity,
Yes.
growing into it, and what you've learned and what you've seen, because you have also experienced a lot of these intimate conversations about religiosity then being treated as the cure to mental illness. और आपने मिसाल भी दिया कि people just tell you if you're feeling like whatever, if you have manic depression, and these are very serious things, very serious things. नमाज नहीं पढ़ोगे तो यही होगा. You know, that's the kind of.
So when I started studying, as I said when we were talking before, मैं हमेशा से inclined थी. I always believed Allah, and I always believed that God is there. But my practice was very ढीला. My knowledge was very limited. जो थोड़ा बहुत पता था, I liked it, and I was like, chalo. So then I started slowly reading more, teaching myself more. I'm very fortunate to have a couple of friends around me who are very good friends, who are very good Muslims also and very good friends also. So I just, I was inclined, so I just kept going, and I kept studying, and it's been like a 6 to 8 month transformation, slowly, from educating myself. And the one thing that I found was that, if you want to look at it from a religious perspective, even the Prophet ﷺ got depressed.
He did.
And if anybody's interested, you can look up at the dua that he made at Taif. And, so with his belief system, Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when he can be sad, right, when he can suffer through depression, तो फिर जो हम तो पता नहीं कहाँ है ना, मतलब उनसे तो compare नहीं कर सकते हम अपने आप को. So that very clearly shows you, if you want to go from the religious perspective, that when you have emotional trauma, you will feel sad. When you have anger issues or when you have emotions coming up, you will feel the emotions. How you deal with them is up to you.
Absolutely.
Right? But then again, as I said, जैसे अगर आपको बुखार होता है, जब हम ये बात कर रहे थे, तो हम जाके नमाज नहीं पढ़ते बुखार ठीक करने के लिए. हम दुआ करते हैं अल्लाह मियां से कि हमें ठीक करे, लेकिन हम डॉक्टर के पास भी जाते हैं, हम दवाई भी लेते हैं, और फिर हम साथ दुआ भी करते हैं. Right? And Allah Miya has also said, help yourselves, guys.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to mental illness, हम इतने आराम से write off क्यों कर देते हैं, और हम कहते हैं कि तुम जाके नमाज पढ़ लो. भाई, जो आपका इमोशन, अगर कोई बच्चा अब्यूज हुआ है पूरी जिंदगी, ठीक है, वो मस्जिद भी गया है, वहाँ भी अब्यूज हुआ है, आप उसे कह रहे हैं कि आप नमाज पढ़ लें जाके, तो उसका रिलीजन से क्या कॉन्फ्लिक्टेड रिलेशनशिप होगा, हम वो कंसिडर नहीं करते. I'm all for religion. I'm not judging anybody who's not. I personally am very much for it. But I will never advise it as a treatment. I'll be like, अगर आपको करना है, आप knowledge लें, आप अपने आप को सिखाएं. Just like with anything else, you need to have knowledge about religion too, right?
Yes.
But again, it may or may not fix the underlying issue. अगर आपको अपनी अम्मा से मसला है, तो unless until आप पूरा यकीन करके अल्लाह पे छोड़ के you turn a blind eye, जो नहीं होता, because हम इंसान हैं.
Exactly.
Right? तो जब तक आप सब्स्टिट्यूट नहीं कर सकते, आपको मेंटल हेल्थ के लिए अप्रोप्रिएट जगहें approach करनी पड़ेंगी, otherwise you won't feel better.
Well, again, and that, and also the problem with religiosity in particular is that it's weaponized.
Yeah.
It's weaponized and often to the advantage of the person who's the tyrant, who's doing the abusing anyways, right? जो बोला जाता है कि, you know, and I was very fortunate to have wonderful parents, alhamdulillah, right? But there have been grown-ups in my life who've I told you about the maar and mochade wala ratio. That's something we'll get into, which is very very interesting. बड़ा ज़बरदस्त यही होता है, असल में हल यही होता है, आपको पता है.
हाँ, थप्पड़ मारो
हाँ,
सबको.
थप्पड़ मारो, फिर ठीक हो जाएगा. But even before that, you know, like you pick and choose what you want to quote from the religion, right? So you're like, you should never misbehave with your, say, whatever, with your adults or whatever, right? Well, that is also taken out of context. एक बड़ी मैं writ large बात कर रहा हूँ. There's nuances to everything, obviously. Everything is spoken in a context.
Yeah.
The Quran is complete.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And what that means is you can't pick and choose.
Yeah, you can't.
It's the opposite.
Yeah.
If it's the complete message, take the complete message.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't pick and choose. Don't be like ye hai or ye. What are you talking about, dude?
Yeah.
Like, it's right there. It's the whole thing. People can क्या कहते हैं, rote learn it. People can learn it by heart. It's a miracle. It's the truth, right? Why do you feel the need to pick and choose then? It's nonsensical. No, like, that's just my personal frustrations.
Deviating a bit from mental health and going into religion very quickly.
Just anger.
Just anger.
Just anger. Tell me more. I'm a man. I get angry, no? That's the only thing I'm allowed to get is angry. Never sad.
Just putting it out there for everybody who's watching. He's just being sarcastic. In case people think that I'm actually entertaining him, saying I'm a man and I'm going to want to be angry and not tackling him.
and there's only two types of women. He's like, Nida को क्या हो गया? खराब हो गई.
तीसरी लड़की बन गई.
खराब है.
आवाज है लड़की के अंदर.
ला रहे हम करे. But the Mar and Mochada ratio was so when I was young, I used to have difficulty reading.
Yeah.
Right? I'm telling. Just pretend like I'm telling you for the first time, please.
No, I'm going to listen.
With impressions because you're an actor.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
तो
As long as आप मुझे नहीं कह रहे रो के दिखाएं ना, I'm good.
अच्छा, रोने वाला सीन नहीं है.
भाई लोग कहते हैं ना, रो के दिखाएं, आप एक्टर हैं. अच्छा, एक्टिंग करके दिखाएं, रो के दिखाएं आप. Can you cry on command? No. I'm like, I can only if you pay me. I get paid for my work.
Paid and
please.
Money and onions. Was what I need. No. So dyslexia basically is a reading disability or an impairment which is social, so it can be fixed through therapy, like some other Allah kare. Illnesses. I don't know if I want to call it illnesses. है तो सही.
Depend करता है. Disorder अलग है, disability अलग है.
जो मसला है, it's a
learning
problem.
disability कहते हैं.
Learning disability, ठीक है. तो what happens is one of the textbook symptoms is when you read something, they read words, they fly off the page, and that would happen to me, right? And my younger brother, but I would never complain about it. So I recalled one incident, ऐसे 2-3 हुए थे, and they were fun, where I couldn't read anything, so I would get really close to the page, like really, really close, right? I had glasses as well, I would get really close. This is not proper reading form. If you didn't know, now you do. You're supposed to read with poise. You're supposed to have one hand for expression.
Oh.
जी बिल्कुल जी.
अच्छा,
ऐसे हाँ जी. ऐसे पढ़ते हैं. ऐसे पढ़ते हैं, then you obviously...
yes.
Wow,
so
like that,
nuanced.
right? And I'm over here being a Neanderthal, and because I couldn't read, right? And I had my glasses on, but I remember the teacher, she kind of slapped me on the back of the head, right? And I bounced off the table because I was ये book है, and I'm just trying to read, right? Bounce off my lip. I cut my lip, bounce off the table, and she's like, serves you right for not following proper protocol. And I'm like, perfect, right? And obviously because I'm a man, I was just angry and nothing else. But deep down inside, it wasn't anger, it was indignation, because whatever she was asking me to do, I physically couldn't.
Yeah.
Right? And that, unfortunately, is the plight of a lot of people who have mental illness, because you're trying to tell them to be all right.
Yeah.
Liven up, they can't.
Yeah.
Smile, they can't fucking smile. They can't, right? So, but those slappings and everything, and I move on. My brother,
No, but you don't move on. See, that's the thing. The very interesting thing about these incidents is कि हम 20 साल बाद बैठे हुए उस incident के.
जी,
ठीक है, और अभी भी आपको अच्छी तरह से याद है. You remember the
dude, vividly.
page, you remember
Yeah.
the smack, you
Vivid.
remember bouncing off the table.
Absolutely do.
So that's, you know, we don't realize कि जो छोटे-छोटे incidents हैं, they also pile up into our trauma. Because
Absolutely do, yes.
I'm not sure how you felt about your dyslexia at that point, and I'm not sure whether you knew what was happening or whatever. All you knew was that you were following instructions and you weren't doing them right. So that's crippling for a child, right?
It is, because you feel there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Clearly, if everyone else can do it, I also used to write slow, very, very slow.
I can imagine.
Super slow. Later on, alhamdulillah, I went on to do a degree in writing and philosophy, which is a lot of reading essentially. So, there, suck it. No, I'm joking. Don't hit me. But I suppose, जो environment create हुआ होता ना, I would have gone like I said, I had supportive parents, especially my mom, very supportive, alhamdulillah. But I didn't go to her because I was experiencing what it is for someone to actually come up and tell people that, yaar, mere saath koi masla hai.
Yeah.
Often, in fact, 99% of the times, you'll get the opposite of what is a good response. You'll be like, yeah, what, are you stupid? No. So, ये जो मारन मोचड़े वाला ratio है, this was suggested to my younger brother who had his dyslexia was much worse than mine. Right? It was very bad. So he needed a therapist for it. Right? And this is the beauty of it. Now he's completely fine, alhamdulillah. Reads faster than me, learns faster than me, writes better than me. Right? He's just like a gangster. He just doesn't want to do it. He's just like,
I can do it now.
Just better than you. Whatever, right? MashaAllah say. And he says he actually remembers it vividly, even at that young age, going through that speech therapy. But even to him, people are like, yaar, isko maar ki kami hai. Iska dimag kharab hai. Iska aapne isko spoil kar diya hai. Right? Isko spoil kar diya hai, which is why he's telling you that he can't read. Right? Yeah. Which is wonderful, right? So, I suppose it wasn't just indignation ki yaar, there's something wrong with me. It was also fear ki I don't want to go through that.
Yeah.
You know? So it was a bunch of that, and yeah, it stayed with me throughout. Like a lot of my mannerisms developed as an absolute reaction of exactly that incident or incidents like those where I'm like, yeah, they could just don't hit me.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not even completely opposed to hitting a child if they not like crippling them.
Okay.
Yeah, not like then some parents,
the therapist in me is wondering.
some parents go off, right? Yeah. Like meri hockey.
Displaced anger.
Exactly. Right? Displaced anger. But I'm not opposed to classical conditioning, jisme aap, if they do something really bad, maybe some kind of punishment or whatever.
It's okay. I'm not judging you.
You absolutely are, and it's fucking all right.
I'm not at all. I just have that face, a resting bitch face. Tell me more.
Very interesting. Interesting that you're wrong. How does it feel to be wrong?
No, man. They're your kids. Like, they're people's kids. They can treat them however
exactly,
they like. But I understand what you're saying. That thoda bahut maar baar, lekin what?
Lekin not like this and not in front of people. So, mujhe jo chamaate padti thi, I used to be in front of the class. And that makes no sense.
It doesn't.
And uske upar, I would, because of social, like I didn't want to be ostracized, so I wouldn't tell my dad. Because my dad would be like, "Aare mujhe batao kisne kiya?"
Kisne mara? Yeah.
And I'm like, "Kisi ne nahi. Kuch nahi hua hai," right? So there's a lot of that. But now, it's fine, alhamdulillah. I don't cry myself to sleep at all.
Only sometimes.
Only sometimes when I feel alone, which is all the time. But I'm kidding. But yeah, so tell me more about your kind of thing into therapy, because I do believe it started from difficulty with yourself, if you're comfortable talking about it.
Of course. Yeah. So my journey with therapy or therapists or psychology, to be very honest, started very early on. Mm-hmm. I come from a house where I'm not the only one who has trouble with mental health. Some of the people in my family have full-blown disorders. Like we have schizophrenia in our family, distant relatives, but close enough for me to be related to them and to see them. Then we have, other kisam like personality disorders, borderline personality disorder here and there. So I was not a stranger to psychology, and I was fortunate enough to come from a house where people liked studying. Like my nana was very well read. My mom not so much. She didn't really like studying, but I was always encouraged to ask questions. And we were never told कि लोग पागल हैं. We were told कि अच्छा भाई तुम्हारे फला जो मामा के cousin है उनको schizophrenia है. It's a disease. This is what happens. ऐसे ऐसे होता है. मतलब mental health illness है, manageable है, वो दवाइयाँ ले रहे हैं. And I used to be very fond of that uncle as well. So it wasn't that we were strangers. One, two. When I was younger, when I was in O levels, I guess, 10th, 11th grade. So around that time, I was really upset because I think I was upset because I think I'll have to go a little bit further, a little bit more back. So my parents got a divorce when I was 5.
Wow, that's harsh on a kid.
That's very harsh on a kid. Yeah. And before that, my dad had already left the house when I was 4 because he was married to somebody else. And we did not know that. And we were okay with that. We were like, theek hai, jo bhi nahi. And I was very attached to him. So that really messed me up to the point where he used to come meet us for a very little time, and I, as a child, would go lick his cheek because I was so attached to him and I wanted to absorb him for whatever little time that he used to come.
Jeez.
Then he died very suddenly, which I also spoke about in the Womanistan, the Taskeen thing that I spoke on. And that was also very sudden because he was in the police. So he died in an encounter in a place where he wasn't even posted, and it was all very surreal. And then there was family issues, so I was never able to get the closure as a child because we never went to the funeral either.
Wow.
So I had all of that, and then my mother was she was very young when all of this happened. She was only 26.
Oh man.
Yeah. So that's a doozy. So she was trying to take care of us the way she knew how, and I felt like I was being neglected because my brother was given more attention or whatever. Because he was younger, he was dealing with a lot more.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the line, I started to get a little bit sad, a little bit disturbed. I thought that, mera to pata nahi kya hoga. Every time my mom used to go out of the house, I used to be like, she's never going to come back because I had abandonment issues also. So all of this was already frustrating, and then I tried to kill myself. I was about, I think, class 10th, 11th में ही मैंने अपने आप को काटा वाटा, मैंने सारी दवाइयाँ ली, and तब तो मुझे नहीं पता था, अब मुझे पता चला है बहुत अरसे के बाद, that was a cry for attention. It was more like, hey, look at me, I'm not feeling well. बहुत दफ़ा ऐसे होता है कि लोग जब इस तरह के drastic steps लेते हैं, unless when they have properly planned it and they go through with it, अगर दवाइयाँ लेते हैं या अपने आप को self-harm करते हैं, so those are all things that come out as symptoms of the things that they're feeling.
Wow, yeah.
Right? Yeah. They're never the actual problem. So that's what was happening with me, but I didn't have the foresight as a 13, 14-year-old.
No, how could you? Yeah.
And so my parents, like my mom especially, got really worried because I remember she came back from school, they broke my door or whatever, or mere like khoon tapak raha hai, or pata nahi kya ho raha hai, sab, are you okay? I'm getting a little...
No, I've experienced that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was just like, so uske baad they took me to a psychiatrist. I hated the psychiatrist because by this time I had also started accumulating anger. I hated that psychiatrist. I remember to this day, मुझे उसकी शक्ल नहीं याद, पर मुझे याद है मैं टेबल से उसके across बैठी हुई थी और मैं बात करते जा रही थी और मैं आगे होती जा रही थी अपनी कुर्सी में और वो पीछे होता जा रहा था अपनी कुर्सी में, although there was a table between us. Till I finally just stood up and I told my mother इसका दिमाग खराब है, मैंने इससे बात नहीं करनी, and I walked out of the room. And there's also a psychiatrist in Aga Khan, तो ये भी नहीं है कि मैं उठ के किसी के पास भी चली गई थी. हमारे यहाँ Aga Khan is considered the best hospital in the world. Well, in Pakistan.
What did you hate about him? Do you remember? Can you?
I think I just felt like he had no idea what I was talking about. He couldn't relate to me at all. I was a 14-year-old, he was a 45-year-old, and he just did not seem very warm or inviting. There was nothing that he was doing for me. I didn't feel like talking to him.
He'd already made up his mind, so to speak.
Lag raha tha aisa hi. Like the feeling that I got from him was just like, I'm wasting my time. He will just put whatever he needs to on a prescription paper and send me on my way.
Yeah.
And that happened. They gave me a prescription. And I did not know I was on suicide watch for the next year or so. Like my family and my parents and everybody, I did not know till they were done looking after me. Like they were very good. They were very good sleuths. Mashallah, mujhe bilkul nahi pata chala. So I went through that. Then things started getting bad at my house because my mamus wouldn't get along with my mother. So wahan pe bahut sara tashaddud shuru hua. So pehle to we were younger, we wouldn't say anything. When we started getting older, I started getting a voice, and then I started to get really angry because all the abandonment issues, or abba nahi hai, or mushkil hai zindagi, or pata nahi kya kya hai, और मैं angsty हूँ, और मैं teenager हूँ, और मैं गुस्से में हूँ, और फिर मैं ऐसी हो गई थी कि I don't recognize the person that I was, to be
Wow,
very
all right.
honest.
That's
I don't
profound,
relate to
yeah.
those feelings anymore. अब मुझे उतना गुस्सा नहीं आता. Like मेरी टांगे हिलना शुरू हो जाती थी, मेरे हाथ हिल रहे होते थे, मेरे आंखों से आंसू गिर होते थे, and I was just so angry कि आओ मैं मारूं. And I did not care मेरे आगे कौन खड़ा हुआ है कौन नहीं.
But you know where that anger came from.
Yeah, now.
You know?
Not
Yeah.
at that point.
No.
Not at that point
You must have been
at
very
all.
confused back then, yeah.
See, that's the thing. I don't think you're ever confused when you're angry, because when you're angry. I don't think कि मेरे अंदर इतनी self reflection थी कि मैं बैठ के देखती कि अच्छा ये गुस्सा कहाँ से आ रहा है, displaced है कि नहीं. उस वक्त तो बिल्कुल justified लगता था कि जहाँ निकल रहा है ना यहीं का गुस्सा है.
यहीं का गुस्सा है. Absolutely, yes.
और था भी काफी हद तक उस टाइम पे.
Yeah.
So those were the people that were making me angry or making me feel insecure in my own house. So we left that house back in 2009, I think. तो जब मैं बाहर निकली तो मैंने रियलाइज़ किया कि ये जो मेरा गुस्सा है, दिस ऑल्सो हैपन्स विद माई फ्रेंड्स एज वेल, कि मैं अपने दोस्तों पे भी इस तरह कर देती हूँ. द पर्सन दैट आई वाज डेटिंग एट दैट टाइम, उनके साथ भी मैं कर देती थी कि मैं उनकी तबीयत ऐसी साफ करती थी कि
वो उन हो जाते थे, वो सेट हो जाते थे बिल्कुल.
लिटरली कि मतलब वो सेट पता नहीं उनके साथ मैंने क्या किया. आई थिंक आई वाज वेरी वेरी अग्रेसिव एंड माय देन बॉयफ्रेंड वाज वेरी वेरी पैसिव, एंड इट वाज अ वेरी बैड कॉम्बिनेशन फॉर हिम, बिकॉज मैं दबाती जाती थी, वो दबता जाता था.
It's a very toxic relationship.
It was a horrible relationship
And
for
it
him.
happens more often than you would like to care to, you know, accept.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So मैंने ये देखा, फिर मैंने देखा यार मैं खुश नहीं हो रही, मैं एक्टिंग कर रही थी, मैं खुश नहीं हो रही थी, मैं कुछ भी कर रही थी, मैं घर चला रही हूँ, सब कर रही हूँ, but I was just not happy. You know, doing everything that I was doing, earning well, running everything, whatever. I was just not happy. तो फिर मैंने कहा यार मैं क्या करूँ. फिर जब ये ड्रामा स्लम्प आया बीच में, बिकॉज आई स्टॉप्ड एक्टिंग फॉर अ बिट, ज़्यादा रोज़ नहीं आ रहे थे. जो एक कॉल आई मैंने उनको इतनी बदतमीजी से बात की कि उन्होंने कहा इसको वापस कॉल नहीं करेंगे. तो यू नो आई वाज जस्ट लाइक नौकरी भी नहीं है, मैं पूरा दिन घर पे बैठी हुई हूँ, आई एम नॉट फीलिंग गुड, मेरा दिल चाह रहा है कि मैं अपने आप को मारूं धाड़ूं, फिर से सेल्फ हार्म करूं. तो आई वाज लाइक दिस इज नॉट ओके.
How old were you when this second wala?
The second one is like 3-4 years ago. It's about, I'm 32 now in December. I'm 31 and a half, so I would about 27.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? And before this, one of my friends had said to me, who is a therapist herself and a very good one, she's in Lahore now. Mashallah. She basically had told me, "Nida, tum course kar lo, you'll make a good therapist. Just do a course, it'll help you as well."
And you're just like me. That's funny.
Yeah, that's what I felt like. I was like, मैं क्या, मैं तो लोगों को थप्पड़े मारूंगी
That
बैठ
was
के
my
therapy
reaction
में.
as well. Like, Kazi, you should do therapy. Ha! Interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
Being therapy.
I know. मैंने बस कही कहा, and I laughed it off. I actually laughed it off. And she was like, you know, तो फिर मैंने ना, I called her up about 3-4 months after she had told me कि तुम ये कर लो, and I was really having a bad day that day. और मुझे वाकई में ऐसा लग रहा था कि, you know, I'm just going to really destroy myself really horribly. I was seeing people that I shouldn't be seeing. I didn't know if I had good friends around me. तो मैंने फाइनली फिर अपनी दोस्त को वापस फ़ोन किया. मैंने कहा खुदा का वास्ते मुझे कोई थेरेपिस्ट दो. एंड शी इज़ लाइक, ना मैं तुम्हें थेरेपिस्ट का नंबर तो भेज रही हूँ, लेकिन तुम एक और काम करो, कोर्स कर लो. तो मैंने कहा तुम क्यों मंजन बेच रही हो मुझे कोर्स का, मतलब कौन देगा मेरे पैसे, क्या होगा, ये और नहीं होगा. तो जो है क्या कहते हैं, तो मैंने कहा कि अच्छा ठीक है. तो फिर आई वेंट एंड आई आस्क्ड अराउंड. I did mine from therapy works. They were very nice. They were like, कोई बात नहीं, we'll figure out the payment plan. Don't worry about it. And to their word, they were really, really
like
good
that.
about
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
So I was just like, ठीक है करके देख लेते हैं. And initially तो मुझे नहीं पता था कि क्या होगा. I just got there like a plain slate and I was like, देख लेते हैं क्या होता है. मुझे कुछ नहीं पता था group therapy होगी क्या नहीं होगा. But it really, really, really helped to study, because my friend said one thing which really stuck with me. She's like, Nida, you're the sort of person जो ये मैंने, I think I'm repeating this because I said it the last time on the last podcast too. She's like, you need to know कि तुम्हारे साथ क्या हो रहा है और क्यों हो रहा है. तुम्हें मसला है, तुम्हें कीड़ा है.
You need to academize it. Yeah.
Yeah, मुझे ये हर चीज़ के साथ कीड़ा है. Like even when I got into religion, I had to study books. I am looking into books. I'm reading the Quran. I'm reading things, you know, and it happens to everything that I do. तो मैंने कहा यार सही कह रही हो तुम, पढ़ के देख लेते हैं. फिर मैंने पढ़ना शुरू किया, सर्टिफिकेट स्टार्ट किया मैंने 2017 के एंड में सर्टिफिकेट स्टार्ट किया मैंने. एंड व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड स्टडीइंग, मुझे बहुत दफ़ा ऐसा होता है मैं पढ़ते पढ़ते कहती थी ओ आहा, जिसको आहा मोमेंट कहा जाता है, यू नो, आज ये तो मैं हूँ.
You just had like several, because every theory describes you. Like, oh, that me.
Yeah. I think the only one that I personally did not relate to, which you will probably do later, is object relation theory. वो I think मेरा थोड़ा सा उसके साथ skewed relationship है. वो I did not relate to, और या वो मैंने सही तरह पढ़ी नहीं, मैंने फिर से पढ़नी है. But otherwise, yeah, there are a lot of things. Interjections जो है ना कि भाई आपको कौन सी चीज़ पे क्या बताया जाता है, कौन सी चीज़ें आपकी अपने हिस्से की और कौन सी आपने environment से उठाई हैं. That really helped.
Yes. The ego states from therapy.
The ego states as well. कि मैं कौन सी ego state से function करती हूँ, मैं कहाँ से करती हूँ, क्या होता है. So those things really helped. Just understanding where my anger comes from, understanding where my trauma comes from. कुछ चीज़ें तो ऐसी निकली जो मैंने एक्सपेक्ट भी नहीं की थी. Like let's suppose I did not know that I have a problem with my mother, and I love her to bits.
Obviously,
right?
yes,
And
yes.
we have a great relationship. But I still had a problem with my mother, which did not come out till I didn't go to therapy. और हमारे ग्रुप सेशन था जिसमें हमें बेसिकली थेरेप्यूटिक टेक्निक जो है एक बाहर से आया हुआ हमारे माइकल सॉट आते हैं बाहर से, तो उन्होंने कहा वो थेरेप्यूटिक टेक्निक डिस्प्ले करेंगे, ओपन चेयर टेक्निक करेंगे. The open chair technique is where you have another person in front, you have the therapist, you have the client, and then you have one open chair, which is an empty chair, and उसका एक पूरा process होता है. I won't get into it because I don't want it to be replicated outside of therapy room spaces.
Yes.
You know, तो उस तरह की थी, and I was supposed to talk to my mother. Initially तो मुझे पता नहीं था ये क्या सीन है, talk to my mother how. Okay, करते by the end of that session, 10 मिनट हुए होंगे, I was standing and I was screaming and I was crying, and I was like ये कहाँ से निकला है अंदर से. Right? So that was an eye opener for me कि बहुत दफ़ा हम लोगों को ऐसा लगता है या सिखाया जाता है black and white में कि आपके अगर अम्मी हैं या अब्बा हैं तो वो white ही white हैं, आप उनको disrespect नहीं कर सकते, आपको उनसे मसला नहीं हो सकता. तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा eye opening experience था that I love her so much, और मुझे फिर भी उससे मसला हो सकता है. तो it's possible, जैसे you said कि बुरा और अच्छा साथ exist कर सकती है एक चीज़ में.
The thing is, you need to understand this. It's not mutually exclusive. You can absolutely love her. You cannot, मतलब अगर मैं उनके बारे में ऐसे भी बोलूं, you might want to completely destroy me. Doesn't mean.
And I probably will.
Absolutely, of course, yes. But through psychology, but you might also still have an issue with some of the stuff that she's done now, previously.
Yeah.
You only have problems with those you love.
For
if you
sure.
don't love someone, you don't bother with them.
Yeah.
That ये तो बहरहाल, sorry.
No,
Yes.
no, you're perfectly right, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
So this was, as I said, it was a very eye-opening experience, I realized, and I think that really helped open my eyes कि अच्छा भाई आप guilt को side पे रखें, because बहुत दफ़ा मैंने लोगों के process में भी देखा है when I'm helping them process, कि they'll say something about their parent and then they'll be like, no, but either we understand why they did it, or oh, no, but they're not bad. And I have to reiterate to some of my clients that, you know what, it's okay, we're not here judging your parents.
Exactly.
They can do bad things.
Yes.
You can think that they're doing wrong things, and you can still love them.
The most beautiful thing about so जब मैं philosophy, when I got into philosophy, when we studied existentialism, right? The most beautiful thing about existentialism was neutral language. I was just like, yeah, there is probably not a nicer thing that's been created. Forget insulin, forget cancer medication. The best thing in the world is neutral language. No one's judging me here, and I don't have to have an imperative. I don't need to be on the right side of this or the wrong side of this. I can just be neutral.
Yeah.
And I think more often than not, that's what all of us are craving, is just some neutrality.
Well, more unconditional love.
Unconditional love, yeah. So yeah, देखो, some people are supposed to love you unconditionally, and if they don't, what the fuck, right? Come on, man. You know, like you can't. What? You're not gonna love me unconditionally? What's wrong with you?
But नहीं होता ना ये unconditional.
नहीं. Often मैं ये देखा है कि वो नहीं इसलिए नहीं होता है क्योंकि उनके खुद के पास देने के लिए नहीं होता है. You know, so they can't give you something that they don't have, and often unconditional is a very scary thing for a lot of people, right? And I'm generalizing, I understand that, but I'm cognizant, but it is जैसे ये एक चीज़ होती है, एक statement होती है, it's called the categorical imperative, right? So for everything in whatever situation, why is wrong, right? Or why is right. Unconditional love is like that. Whatever Nida does, I'll be all right with her, right? Problem is, हमारे मुआशरे की इंजंक्शंस इतनी खतरनाक होती हैं और इतनी ज़बरदस्त वैल्यू जजमेंट्स होती हैं हमारे ऊपर कि ये तुम्हारी बेटी ये है. Our parents take a brunt, a large chunk of that pressure onto themselves, and they're like, हाँ यार.
And then they pass it on to their kids.
Exactly, Kazi, couldn't you be a little better dressed, a little better spoken, more eloquent? I'm fucking 7. I'm 7 years.
You dress me.
I'm 7 years old.
So I think I lucked out there because I think I did get a lot of unconditional support,
Oh, mashallah.
and I think that just goes on to show even more that sometimes you will have problems with a situation regardless of how good it is, right?
Yes.
Like with my mom, I don't remember bachpan mein kabhi bhi ke we were judged for our grades,
Wow.
right? And it worked out for her that I was a good student. my brother was a horrible student. He failed many grades. She didn't care.
Yeah.
I flunked my A levels. She didn't care. We both decided to, because she didn't care so much about us failing, that we decided कि अच्छा college आ गए तो अपनी खुद की इज्जत रख लेनी चाहिए. अम्मा तो बेचारी मतलब कुछ भी नहीं कह रही.
Yeah.
You know, so we
Yeah.
both did really well in college. She got a 3.2. I got a 3.5. We
Wow.
both graduated like very well from our
Mashallah,
previous records.
Yeah.
So we fixed ourselves. But as I said, it just goes on to show that sometimes you just have problems with situations or people, and it's okay to have them problems, you know. Like, I don't all of a sudden want to kill my mother just because I feel like I was neglected at certain points.
Yeah.
Right? So I think unconditional love का मतलब ये नहीं होता कि आप हर दफ़ा मतलब जैसे ऐसा नहीं था मेरी माँ गुस्सा नहीं होती थी बट डिफरेंस था कि अगर फर्ज करो अभी गुस्सा है मुझ पे और हम 3 लोग बैठे हुए हैं तो वो अभी अगर तुमसे मेरी लड़ाई हो रही है तो शी विल बी लाइक यू आर रॉन्ग
Obviously.
राइट एंड व्हेन वी गेट होम
She'd be like, by the way.
शी विल लाइक इधर आओ
अच्छा, by the way नहीं होता है.
She's like,
This is the way.
She's like, what were you doing?
Yeah.
Like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
So घर जाके पढ़ती थी तो हमें इतना पता होता था कि जब बाहर हम होंगे ना तो we have nothing to fear because she has our back.
That's a beautiful thing.
But when we go home,
Yeah.
if we're wrong, we would also get it.
Yeah, देखो, that is essential to make it, or not even make it in this world, just to survive in this world, because this world's a fucked up place. You know what I mean? Like, how pardon my French, it's coming out in spades, but I'm eloquent. But ये जो है, it's because the world's gonna tear you upside down every which way. You know, world's already going to tell you that you're crap and you're not good enough for anything and that you're never going to be happy and all those things. So it's beautiful to have that anchor in your life. That was what was a very interesting complication between me and my father. So my dad, he was never given room to cry or vent or any of those things. He's a man.
Yeah.
They don't cry,
No.
right? ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है. और दुख और तकलीफ
नहीं होती भाई.
मर्द है भाई.
मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता.
नहीं, बिल्कुल भी नहीं, right? So much so that he couldn't connect to the 3-year-old me or the 5-year-old me or the 7-year-old me or the 12-year-old me because I was a kid. He didn't understand that because it had been ingrained in him to be a man. वो एक something was left out कि यार वो man जो होता है वो भी बचपन से मतलब छोटा होके बड़ा होता है ना.
Yeah.
तो I often, when I was in public, you know, where, you know, rowdy people, whatever, you know, you get into fights or whatever, I was never afraid of what the other person might do to me. I was always afraid of what my father's going to say. You know? Because, and the thing is, अब जब मैं बाबा से बात करता हूँ, अल्लाह का बहुत करम है that we have a very, very different relationship now. I would never have imagined, alhamdulillah, that it would turn out this way. But now when I speak to my dad, he's like, yaar, what do you think I was putting on this front for? You know, like this was for you, so no one would mess with you. And you know, and then he takes me back and he tells me in hindsight, he's like, ye sare masle the. These people wanted to hurt you. And they didn't, alhamdulillah. So whatever I was doing was successful. I'm like, Dad, maybe it worked too well. You know, maybe it worked so well that, you know, so it's a beautiful thing to have an anchor with your mom. But yeah.
I think that's why some of my mental issues were contained, and I think that's why I sought help, because I always got support from her. That's why I was able to sit in therapy, and now I am pursuing a therapist side by side, a therapist's career side by side. It's only because she's never stopped me from doing things. But again, so a lot of times you have issues with things at home and stuff, and they just manifest. और जो तुमने बात की कि जगह नहीं होती कोई और emotion show करने की, that's how I felt as well for the longest time, because being in my house with my uncles who I did not like, who I felt threatened by, I always had to have a very strong front.
Yeah.
Before that also, when my parents' divorce was going through and when he passed away, we were categorically sat and told that you guys are not bicharas and that people shouldn't have pity on you. And that, you know, and these were things, and you have to be sufficient and it'll be okay because people will say a lot of shit to you and you don't have to listen to any of their shit. Because people say a lot of things. People are really mean. Some of you really need to check what you say to people.
People are, phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, mashallah.
Just beautiful people,
I swear.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, and although it worked great at protecting us, because we really grew up not caring what the world said. Like, kabhi bhi log kya kahenga was not a fair for us, right?
No.
It worked out great. It alienated us a bit because हमें कुछ लोग relate नहीं कर पाते थे हम कुछ लोगों से because they were so focused on लोग क्या कहते हैं, right? But all in another way, it also made me very closed up because I was like, okay, KDA ke ghar, like in my house with my uncles, I can't show a weak side because if I'm weak, then my mom's gonna get hurt. So I have to be a particular strong person.
Wow.
I can't show any emotions because if I show emotions, I'm weak. So I can just go beat people up, throw things around, be angry, and that's great.
Because anger is acceptable.
Of course, it's acceptable. She's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so that then. Outside also, I used to use my anger to deal with other people also, and it would work till it did not because it was defense mechanism. Anger was a defense mechanism, right? So your defense mechanisms work for you in the situation that they're protecting you from, which was my house situation, right? My injunctions to be self-sufficient worked for me till I was in an environment जहाँ मैं safe नहीं थी, या मेरी family safe नहीं थी. But after my family became safe, the same defense mechanism, anger, really made me emotionally very dead. Because let's suppose if, you know, the boyfriend in question who I was dating in college, you know, great person, you know.
Must have been.
Great person. But I was always so angry at him because if I was hurt, I could only say I'm angry.
Yes.
Because that was the only emotion I knew.
Yes.
And that was the only emotion that would come out. You're sad, you're angry. You're unhappy, you're angry. You are hurting, you're angry. Okay, but it's exhausting to be angry all the time at every little thing.
Yeah.
So it didn't work for me anymore, and I had to recollaborate.
Yes.
So I think that's also another thing that people should really look into. कि कौन से coping mechanisms are still serving you, और कौन से outdate हो गए and you have to refresh.
Yeah, you have to check them. Also, relationships generally, especially ये जो prepubescent, not prepubescent, but ये teen years में या early 20s, even late 20s, but generally relationships of this sort, girlfriend boyfriend वाला जो scene होता है, a lot of those are crutches, or they're meant to be like that, unfortunately, right? So and that's why they turn toxic, because वैसे ही एक taboo है, तो वैसे ही we're breaking rules. Some people just get into a relationship to break rules, right? But a lot of them then become reliant on their partner. And that's not healthy either.
No.
You know, because it's a pseudo marriage anyways. It's not actually
it's
anything.
Codependency sort.
Yeah. So I often speak about that to people. जैसे ये काफी होता है और काफी बोला जाता है कि आप जो है बड़े हो जाओ. You know, when you go through a breakup at a young age, get very upset. In fact, you start showing symptoms of serious mental illness or mental health issues, and to that, society tells you to grow up, right? Which I think is again something that we need to look into, where we need to at least legitimize their pain. At least we need to tell them, "Kya dekho, nahi bade ho jao. Stay in this pain for a bit. Like hold this. It's your pain. It's legitimate. Like you feel like shit, and it's all right to feel like shit right now. You know. Instead, we're just constantly judging people left, right, and center, telling them to just get better. How is someone supposed to get better? How does one get better?
Oh my God, that's a very loaded question to ask.
You take a sip of your Red Bull and you tell me, today I will find answers.
Get better. Do a checklist. Beta, get up in the morning, put water in your nose, take it out of your ears, and then you'll feel better. No, see, I think recognizing what's wrong with you, or what's upsetting you, or what's making you feel a certain way is very important, right? And that's just the start of the work. Like I remember when I was getting into my processes, because अभी मैं बड़ी nuanced लगती हूँ कि मुझे पता है कि अच्छा यहाँ से trauma आया, यहाँ से trauma आया.
Completely contained, everything's fine.
हाँ, पहले नहीं होता था ना ऐसे, तो पहले नहीं पता था कि कहाँ से आ रहा है, क्या नहीं हो रहा. So it was very important to understand कि आ कहाँ से रहा था.
सही.
ठीक है, and that's just the starting of the work. Because I remember I called my therapist and I was like, I think I'm going to go crazy now that I know ये आधा दर्द तो मैंने अपने आप के लिए कॉज किया है, तो मैं तो पागल हो जाऊंगी, मैं क्या करूँ, इससे बेहतर तो मैं blissfully ignorant थी. तो आगे से मेरे therapist ने कहा, it's okay, we're starting, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, you just have to stick through it.
Yes.
And I stuck through it for 3 years, alhamdulillah. I still have the same therapist. But I see him a lot less now, from every week to like once or twice a month now.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Like, unless you have a horrible therapist who just wants to make money. ये भी तो होता है.
Yes, ये बहुत होता है हमारे यहाँ, psychiatrist के साथ भी होता है. But you know, so I think that's the first step, understanding where it comes from. अगर आपको therapy से नहीं पता चलता, आप खुद से बैठ के बात करें, आप दोस्तों से बैठ के बात करें. But find out what's bothering you first and understand that before you can fix it.
Also, interpreting your actions. Like me, I've been known to be a big eater, right? That was one of the injunctions. Yo, Kazi's big, Kazi's strong, Kazi eats a lot, right? And recently, जब मैंने तवज्जो फरमाई इस चीज़ पे, I realized that I was eating as a form of punishment, and that was seriously like, it was kind of crazy. तो मैं अभी अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह I'm 5'11", 6 foot if you compliment me.
All right.
Thank you, yes. वो चौड़ा हो जाता हूँ. And I am 101 kilos, alhamdulillah, right? Not supposed to be. I'm supposed to be somewhere around 88. Okay. And I used to be 88. I've gone down there a couple of times. A normal day's worth of eating will include 3,000 calories. I consume 8.
8,000.
8,000
okay, but I was like
calories.
8. I was like, no,
आठ
that
calories.
math does not sound right.
आप मॉडल हैं.
कहाँ पर?
आप क्या करने जा रहे हैं? तो and that again is a problematic thing.
We can talk about later.
Yeah, absolutely must. But तो I regularly would consume 8,000 calories. I would feel horrible, stomach upset, can't sleep, all those things, right? And so then मैंने ये जब कोर्स शुरू किए, किताबें पढ़ी एग्जिस्टेंशियलिज्म के बारे में, I figured that was a coping mechanism that I had developed to deal with two things. A sense of inadequacy, because men are supposed to be strong. I was actually very dainty. Till like I was 18, I was very skinny. I was full artist, patla, kamzor, and all those things. Not saying there's anything kamzor to negative connotation, but I was skinny, right? And men aren't supposed to be skinny. Men are supposed to be strong.
ये तो मुझे नहीं समझ में आया who's supposed to be skinny or not. इसके बारे में बात करेंगे. But you finish what you're saying.
Yes. So part of the disorder, part of the, I would call it, I don't want to call it an eating disorder, but part of the eating problem came from, you need to get big, so eat. Right? How much are you supposed to eat? Just eat till you can't eat anymore. So I would boil up an entire chicken, boiled, and I would eat it just to build muscle, build mass and strength and all those things. That was where part of the problem came from. Like, after a while, your body's just like, no, nahi ho raha, nahi hoga, right? You're not working out enough and all those things. The other part came from a deep existential angst. I didn't know what anchored me where. I didn't know what the meaning to my, and there needs to be a meaning. I didn't know to find that meaning. And everywhere I looked, people were like, sabr shukr karo. Like, you're not, na shukri ho tum. Allah ka karam karo. Logo ke paas khane ko nahi hai. And the thing is, that's absolutely true. But that absolutely does not help me. You know what I mean?
Anybody for that matter.
Yeah, and nobody. Exactly. You are absolutely right. Here in Karachi, we have such dearth and such poverty, but at the same time, you're not helping me with that fucking information.
Or helping the people who are poor either. Like,
Yeah.
या तो उनकी help होती है ना कि
Yeah.
मैं तुम्हें बोलती कि यार बेचारे भूखे मरे,
Yeah.
मेरे बोलने से उनको खाना मिल जाता, तो मैं कहती okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But so that's where I came from. And then recently I was like, and I would complain constantly to my mom or to my siblings or, friends. Usman would hear it from me all the time. Yeah, like, I feel like shit all the time. Well, and then they would look at how much I eat and they're like, maybe stop at one large pizza. Don't go for the second one. Because people don't understand what 7,000 or 8,000 calories looks like. So a large pizza is 1,800 calories to 2,000 calories. One whole large pizza. 8 would be 4 of those in a day, right? So that's where it was coming from. It was coming from a sense of inadequacy because I don't look like a man. What a man looks like, I don't know, right? So I need to look like a man. If so facto, I must eat like a man. And second, there's a deep existential void in me, and I need to fill it.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be, because it's existential, it is by definition infinite. You cannot fill it with finite
Food.
things,
Yeah.
right? Because food is finite. So you've absolutely hit the nail on the head. You need to figure out why you're doing what you're doing. I think a large part of your problem solved the yoga, lekin at least you know कि क्या हो रहा है. But yeah, models and why they eat 400 calories a day.
I have no idea why they eat 400 calories a day, but what I was getting at is the way that we write people off for their weight and the way we treat weight. Like, when people look at me, a lot of them assume that, I'm very conscious about what I put in my body and I really, I'm very careful. and stuff like that. And that's really absolutely not true. Half the reason why I maintain weight is because जब मुझे stress होता है मैं खाना नहीं खा सकती.
That's a problem.
It's a problem.
जब मुझे stress होता है, I eat more.
You eat more, right?
Yeah.
And that for a lot of people, that's how it works. You
Yeah.
either eat very little or you eat a lot when
Yeah.
you're stressed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
One or two, depending on where you got stuck in the Freud stages of fixation.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right? So, and sometimes we'll just be so insensitive about it. Even your gharwalas, like my dadi for the longest time would be like, when I used to be chubbier, she'd be like, Nida, तुम तो इतनी मोटी हो, मैं 16 साल की थी, मेरे 2 बच्चे थे और मेरे पास जो है ना कितने 24 इंच की कमर थी. And I grew up hearing that. And then at one point, I lost a lot of weight because मेरा appendix का operation हुआ था. I lost a lot of weight. I went really skinny and I lost like 14 pounds together or something
That's
because of
not
the
good.
operation.
Yeah.
So at that point, she's like, तुम तो इतनी सूख गई हो ये वो. And I told her, I was like, अब मेरी 24 इंच की कमर है, suck it. You know, पूरी जिंदगी आपने मुझे कहा इतनी करो, अब हो गई है, तब आपको फिर से मसला है.
That's right. Yeah.
And a lot of people do that. They just be like, oh, Nida, diet बता दो हमें, हम तो पतला हो. I'm like, आपको डाइट चाहिए, आप एक काम करें, मेरे घर के बिल आके देना शुरू करें. जब आपको हर महीने फिक्र होगी ना कि अब एंड ऑफ द मंथ आ रहे, पैसे खत्म हो रहे, तो आपका भी वजन कम हो जाएगा. I've become very blunt about it now because it really irritates me कि भाई क्या है, आपने किसी को देखा और आपने जजमेंट कास्ट कर दी. तुम तो बड़े सूखे हो, हाय अल्लाह इतने मोटे हो, इतना वजन चढ़ा लिया. अरे भाई
You don't know
तुम्हारा
what
तो नहीं लेके खा रहे ना. Why? Yeah, you don't know what's happening.
You don't know
behind.
what they're going through at all. At all.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's a very common misconception. Like, अब मुझे बहुत चिढ़ होती है. I think it's become one of my pet peeves when people talk about my weight. You know that you're so skinny. How do you stay skinny? Please tell us. I'm like, it's called stress.
It's called existential angst. I don't know where I'm going.
I don't know what's happening.
We're on a rock, hurling to the sun.
Yeah, so I think ये और ये दोनों तरफ होता है. ये very skinny people also, I would like, you know, and people who are overweight also, like they just write them off. और यही बात write off करने की अगर हम करें तो हम experiences के साथ भी करते हैं.
Absolutely.
रो नहीं, ये तो ठीक था, अरे मुझे भी तो हुआ था ऐसा, जब हम तुम्हारी उम्र के थे तो ऐसा तो नहीं होता था, हम तो चुप करके बैठ जाते थे. अच्छा ठीक है, आप नहीं है ना,
हाँ.
मैं क्या करूँ, मैं तो नहीं हूँ ना, आप
नहीं.
मैं नहीं रिएक्ट कर सकती
Yeah.
इस तरह आप कर रहे हैं.
Yeah.
तो क्यों करते हैं हम ये? और लाइक वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस बिफोर कि हम जाके लोगों को बोल देंगे, ओ कंग्रेचुलेशंस तुम्हारी डिग्री खत्म हो गई. भाई आप पूछ तो लें, उनको खुशी है डिग्री खत्म होने की, नहीं है डिग्री खत्म होने की. कंग्रेचुलेशंस यू आर गेटिंग एंगेज्ड. I used to do that too. I used to do it a lot before I did my course.
Yeah, well, I mean, you educate and you change. That's what happens.
and I like इसका सही इम्पैक्ट मुझे तब पता चला था जब मैं क्लास में थी and one of my friends walked up और उसने कहा मेरी मंगनी हुई है, and another friend jumped and said, oh मुबारक हो. And I stopped her and I was like, wait, ये हमारी साइकोलॉजी की क्लास थी. And I was like, एक सेकंड रुको. I was like, इससे पूछ तो लो. And I turned to my friend and I was like, how do you feel about this, right? And that friend wasn't very happy with whatever was happening. And she told me later, she's like, ना मुझे भी तब हिट हुआ जब तुमने पूछा है कि यार अभी तक किसी ने मुझसे नहीं पूछा था how I was feeling. People were just saying, oh, मुबारक हो तुम्हारी मंगनी होगी, मुबारक हो तुम्हारी मंगनी होगी, मुबारक हो
You're
तुम्हारी
in such a daze, na? You're always so numb because there's so much stimulus coming your way. You're so numb कि आपको पता ही नहीं होता है कि कितनी सारी चीजें आपको लग रही हैं and they're causing damage.
Yeah.
I think it takes a potent incident or at least event like that where someone stops and like, yeah, dekho, how do you feel? You know, before you're like, congratulations, you got married, now you have a kid, now you have 2 kids, wonderful, you must be really happy. I'm ecstatic, right? and we're like, is everything all right? How do you feel?
Yeah.
You know?
कोई नहीं पूछता.
Nahi. No one bothers asking. And you know, in therapy, the first thing they tell you is have empathy. I think a lot of people who graduate as therapists don't have empathy. And empathy is simply putting, this is how I learned it in A-levels, first year. It's just you putting yourself in the other person's shoes. And that's so profound when we don't do that.
Ajam, I disagree a little bit with that, about it just being putting yourself in other people's shoes. And the reason why I disagree with that is because sometimes you can't.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
आपके पास frame of reference नहीं होता, आपको नहीं पता होता. ठीक है? Like, let's suppose you talk about your dyslexia, right?
Yeah.
I can't relate to it because I have not been through a similar experience. But what
Yeah.
I can do is that I can be very genuine in my emotion and I can sit there for you and be like, acha, theek hai. I don't know how this feels. But you tell me because it sounds like it's a very hard thing for you to go through.
Yeah.
And that's also empathy because that's being very genuine in your emotion and telling the other person. हमारे यहाँ लोगों को ये लगता है कि जब आप empathy की बात करते हैं ना, तो it has to be, I understand what you're saying completely, Kazi. I'm right there with you. Hi Allah.
You understand more than I understand.
Right?
Like, I feel this more than you feel.
More than you feel, and I can feel it in my body and I can feel it in my head. ऐसा नहीं होता. बहुत दफ़ा ऐसा होता है कि आपके पास ऐसी चीज़ें आती हैं थेरेपी रूम में कि आपको नहीं पता होती.
Yeah.
You can't relate to them.
No.
मैं कैसे अपने आप को आपके जूतों में डालूंगी अगर आप मुझे कह रहे हैं कि भाई मुझे पूरे बचपन बेल्टों से मारे पिटी हैं. भाई I grew up in a very nice house.
Who told you this?
नहीं, not you. Oh no, I think we're going
काटो
into
इसको.
some therapy.
काटो इसको, मत करो.
Cut off. Okay. So, you know, like, I can't relate to that. So, I can't pretend to relate to it either. I can't pretend to put myself in your shoes. Or I think जब हम ये कहते हैं ना कि empathy is putting yourself in other people's shoes, it alienates some people. Because I've heard my fellow class fellows say, people who are doing the course with me, कि यार वो जो आप लोग सेशन के बीच में कहते हैं ना कि how I feel it, मुझे तो वो feeling ही नहीं आती.
That's genuine. That's actually better, right? That's like,
Yeah.
मुझे feeling नहीं आ रही है.
So, but that's the thing. But you're honed to say कि आपको feeling आ रही है. So, if you keep explaining to people कि although it is the textbook definition, empathy is to put yourself in other people's shoes or other people's experiences. But what do you do when you can't? Then you be genuine.
Yes.
You be genuine in your listening. You be genuine and you say, just say, one of my friends was processing something with me and I told her very bluntly, I was like, listen, I'm here for you.
Yeah.
But I cannot imagine or understand what you went through because मुझे नहीं पता.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So that's also being empathetic, that I'm here for you. Don't worry. I'm going to stand here with you. I'm going to listen to what you say.
Yes.
You want to cry, I'll be here with you. You want to laugh, I'll be here with you. But I don't understand.
Yeah, I think sometimes because understand itself is a very problematic term, na? How are you going to understand this? Now you stand over it, but
Under it, rather.
under yeah, you understand, yeah. But I think a lot of the problems could be flushed out, at least if not solved, or at least partially solved, if you just hold them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a very interesting, novel concept where you want to tell me something and I just listen. You're just like, whoa, that's refreshing. So you don't have anything to say? I'm like, no, I don't know what to say. Like, but, you know, except that, are you all right?
Yeah.
You know, so it's extremely profound. Also, we generally, as a generation at least, suffer from a lack of meaning. You know, and meaninglessness will cause nihilism, and nihilism is what actually brings you to want to destroy yourself. Because if there is lack of meaning, and it's so profound because we are meaning-centric beings. औरत मर्द अलग होते हैं, उसमें कोई issue नहीं है, but generally there is meaning, needs to be. वो जो बात है ना कि one of the most potent symptoms, aspects of a declining mental health is I don't want to get out of bed. You don't want to get out of bed because you don't have any meaning. And the thing is, ये ऐसे नहीं होगा मैं बोलूँगा get some meaning, you know, go to school, get grades, those are meanings. No, you have assimilated the idea that there is no meaning in your existence. There is no sense in doing A or B. And so then, in that state of utter meaninglessness and hopelessness, you think the only thing that makes any difference is if you end your life. Because everything else is meaningless. Right? And that's, and this is obviously, it'd be really nice if I came up with this very profound method. You know, I'd smoke a pipe right now, but it's not. A lot of existentialist philosophers have argued it this way. कि यार देखो, क्या है? You need to have meaning. In fact, one of the most profound versions of this theory is logotherapy, which by Viktor Frankl, who was an existentialist, but he was also a psychologist. उसकी थोड़ी अगर मैं आपको backstory देता चलूँ, he was a Jew who survived 2 death camps, 2 Nazi death camps, right? Just a fucking legend, right? He's like, he survived them, right? Then established a school of psychoanalysis, exactly, yeah. Existentialist psychotherapy. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I'm not done, so I'm going to learn how to fly a plane. Had sunglasses on throughout it all, like his life.
Sometimes I really want to question these people. What was the anxiety that was making them so high functioning around them?
Yeah, I suppose, you absolutely could, right? But that's the thing. It's this, and he argued it's this meaning. Now I have meaning, right? And if I have meaning, then everything's smooth. I'm in this state of just, I'm all right with it, whether it's bad or good. And he's like, one of his most profound quotes that sticks to me to this day is like, he said, what is important is not how many people died in the death camps. What is important is why even one survived. We were all supposed to perish there, but so many of us survived. Why did we survive? Because we had something that was holding us, that was tethering us. We didn't give up, right? And you hear this a lot with people who have physical illnesses, like, you know, Allah sabko apne hifz mein rakhe, inshallah. People who have cancer and stuff, they're like, yeah, she beat cancer. Well, wouldn't you argue that the chemo beat cancer? No. Chemo didn't beat cancer. She beat the cancer, because the cancer is more about pushing through it. Like,
The disease.
yeah, emotionally and physically, than it is about, like, okay, ye dawa le li maine aur wo kar diya. But yeah, a general lack of meaninglessness. And yeah, I don't know if you've felt that, but I certainly have felt that a lot in life. Ki yaar, dekho, there's a very distinct lack of meaning. Like, what am I doing? Like, yes, I'm waking up and the monotony of the 9 to 5. Yes, I'm going to work and I hate it. So shit, right? And then I'm coming back home and all those things. But is there any meaning? And I suppose for you, what you described earlier, the paradigm shift was when you quit acting and stuff. You're like, nay, now I will work for meaning. And that's why the Amazon Prime project and all those things.
I think some of it I relate to, some of it I don't, because as far as meaning is concerned, I don't think I was ever concerned. Like, you know how people are in this
Existential crisis.
Thanks. Some of the words really don't roll off my tongue.
It's okay.
So, you know, people are in that crisis. I don't think I ever thought about that. Like, even when I was growing up, I used to have imaginary friends. I had my dogs. I never really cared about my greater purpose. मुझसे कोई पूछता था तुमने क्या करना है? मैंने डॉक्टरी करनी थी because मुझे interest था. The human body interests me. The
Alright.
heart interests me. Didn't happen for whatever reason. Couldn't afford it. Got into med school. Couldn't afford it. Didn't really care. Was like, okay, I've been working part-time as a journalist with my A-levels, so I'll just shift and do a BA in journalism. I changed degrees. I was very happy with it. Chalte raho, chalte raho, chalte raho. So I never really cared कि why are we on this earth?
That was never one
That
of
was
your
never my
concerns.
problem.
No.
I never cared. I was like, I'm here. I need to be a good person. I need to protect my mom, protect my brother, protect my dogs, and make sure I don't hurt too many people too badly. At least intentionally, unintentionally, तो पता नहीं किस किस को मैंने क्या क्या किया होगा, right? And I thought that's it. I don't have to really have meaning. मतलब उसके अलावा. And then फिर ऊपर से, like, I was religious also. Like, I was always spiritual. I'd always believed in God. And I was like, Allah miya send me. Have a good time. Look at things.
Alhamdulillah, yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Look at things. Ghumo, phiro, khush raho. Don't hurt people. You're fine.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I've always been like that. Like, since as far as I can remember, I have never really, like, you know, people say, oh, hum zindagi mein kya karne aaye hain? Why are we here on this earth? I respect that hustle. I understand it.
Yeah.
I've never felt it. Thank God, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
I'm like, meaningless zindagi theek hai.
Alright, let me ask meaningless. let me ask you a very personal question, and you will forgive me for asking this.
I shall try.
You should try. What then led to you trying to damage yourself like that? Well, that had nothing to do with meaninglessness, you think?
It had more to do with attention. I wanted my mother to look at me. I wanted my house people to give me
That's
attention.
powerful, yeah.
And that's, as I said, a lot of these things that come out, like depression is slightly different, but mostly when people try to kill themselves, a lot of it is saying, hey, come help me.
Wow, because if they were really trying,
They'd go for it. A
Yeah.
lot of, and so a lot of people, especially in their teenage years, when they start self-harming, it's more like, hey, look at me, I'm not feeling okay, but they don't have the tools to say it.
yes,
You know?
Yes,
And
yes,
I'm
yes,
only
yes.
specifically talking about my case because that's my experience. And I'm sure there are other people who may disagree or you may disagree. But that's what I felt. And through the time that I was studying, I did find that people who have similar reactions to mine, you know, a lot of times, even adults who have similar reactions to mine, a lot of times they're saying, hey, look at us. We're not okay. We're not doing okay. We don't know how to ask for help. This is all we can do. Because we think we're worthless. I felt very worthless as a child. I felt like I can't do anything right. I'm not doing a good enough job. My mom might not come back. My dad's left. I don't know what's going to happen. It was more that. It was more displacement than being meaningless. Because I also grew up in a house, like, ये तो इतनी सारी चीजें साथ चलती है ना, कभी-कभार लगता है सब separate timelines पे हो रही थी, but सब साथ ही हो रही होती हैं.
Obviously, that's what life is.
Yeah, so like sometimes people ask me what's your favorite movie when you were growing up, and I was like, I don't remember. I don't have favorite movies. I don't have favorite actors. I don't care about music much. जो भी था मैं सुन लेती हूँ.
Yeah.
Because I grew up outside. we were taught how to make humane bird traps and observe birds and how to take care of dogs and how to take care of other animals because I grew up, I loved animals. Maybe that was my meaning and that's why I never felt meaningless.
Sure.
Maybe,
Sure,
you
yeah.
never know, and that's why I never went in that direction, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it was always very outside centric. So when people were sitting and watching movies, I was outside playing with my dogs or singing songs to them or, stuff like that. Like when I was born, I had 5 dogs, I had 2 big aquariums, I had like a multitude of birds and stuff like that. So I was always around animals and always immersed in that. And I think I always liked people also.
Yeah, sure, you don't mind them.
Yeah.
You guys are all
I was
right
like,
too.
हाँ ठीक है, second tier में तुम लोग आते हो, you know. So I think my meaning was always, I was always there for people. And I think that's another thing that people do. I was a rescuer. I am a rescuer.
Still,
मेरी default position है ना कि फौरन जाओ, help करो,
हाँ,
fix
बचा
करो,
लो।
बचा लो, सबको बचा लो, खुद डूब जाए, दूसरे को बचा लो.
Yeah.
So I think that also gave me meaning. I think I was
Sure.
always the kind of person who was there for other
Sure,
people.
sure. Then that is profound. What do you say? I mean, and you could sum it up in a word.
I'll try.
I know I have a word for it.
Okay.
What do you say about the moral imperative that people associate with suicide? Because खुदा न खास्ता अभी 2-3 हुए, and immediately it was all about how it's wrong, and so we shouldn't feel bad about it. How it's wrong, and it was cowardly, and all these wonderful words are you being used for people that had आप जैसे देखते हो, like if you as a third person, वही आपने बोला, don't like beat me up, but I'm just saying I'm not judging the person, but on the face of it, young, beautiful, successful, intelligent, everything to live for, and they take their own lives like that, right? And muashara jo hai, instead of being like, yeah, we fucked up somewhere, like we failed this person, we failed our kids, we did something wrong. Instead of saying that, they're just like weak, or religiously inept or whatever. What do you say to that? I say fuck, but what do you say to that? Just like, I can't be bothered with this shit, dude.
See again, so there are two ways to look at it, right? If you ask the religious person in me, I will never try to take my own life because
No,
I
okay.
fear for myself that I may go to hell, but I don't know, right? But that's personally for me.
Yeah.
What you're asking me is an outlook.
Yes.
I don't think that I have the authority to form judgments about somebody who was so troubled, who was so tired, who had so little avenues to turn to that they decide to kill themselves. And it's not easy, dude. You try standing on the edge and try going. You can't do it.
No.
Everything in your body will tell you otherwise. आप bungee jumping करने जाएं, आपसे कूदा नहीं जाता.
नहीं.
Right?
नहीं, yeah.
I've done it. It took me like 10 minutes to jump off that bloody place. Right? So I can't judge somebody and be like, oh, they were crowded. मुझे नहीं पता उनके घर पे क्या हो रहा था. मुझे नहीं पता उनकी जिंदगी में क्या हो रहा था. मैं नहीं उनको राइट ऑफ कर सकती हूँ क्योंकि crowd. हाँ, रिलीजियसली अगर देखा जाए तो मना किया है आपको अपनी जिंदगी ना लें. But is it for me to judge? I'm sorry, I'm not the judging authority here.
No. There's only one.
Yeah, there's only one.
Yeah.
शुक्र अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह. And I'm
Alhamdulillah.
so glad हम में से कोई नहीं है, because हम पता नहीं है दूसरे का क्या हाल
Exactly.
करते. तो अगर आप मुझसे पूछें तो मुझे ये affect personally तब करेगा if I'm going in that direction and I want to kill myself. तो फिर मेरा religious morality कहती है निदा तुम अपने लिए ये नहीं कर सकती. But I will never judge another person for their emotional trauma and what they did to themselves because of it. It's not my place. It's really not.
Yeah,
You
and I think if we just had that kind of nuance, we'd be much better off as a society.
हाँ मतलब आपको बहुत फिक्र ना आप दुआ कर लें उसके लिए. If you're religious and that's where you're coming from and saying, oh my God, haram, the wrong thing to do, तो आप हिदायत की दुआ करें. आप उसके लिए दुआ कर लें. आप कहेंगे भाई अल्लाह मियाँ, if he can be forgiven or she can be forgiven,
Yeah.
any capacity.
Yeah.
आपको बहुत फिक्र है, आप ये कर लें. But again, आपने जज भी करना है, आप जज कर लें. मतलब मैं आपको कुछ नहीं कह सकती.
नहीं कह सकते हैं, बिल्कुल कह सकते हैं.
लेकिन आपने मुझसे personally पूछा तो
Yeah.
even like if I come from my religious lens also, it's more like it's not a choice that I would like to make for myself,
No,
but
no,
it's not a choice that I would like to judge somebody else for because I think that's very insensitive.
It is.
Because बहुत trauma होता है यार अपने आप को ख़त्म करने के लिए. बहुत trauma और बहुत मुसीबत होती है. मतलब अब मैं बैठ के जो सोचती हूँ कि मैं बैठ के अपने आप को काटा करती थी. I can't relate to that person.
No, yeah.
And I'm like, आप सोचें बैठ के एक 14 साल का बच्चा ब्लेड साफ करके अपने आप को काटना शुरू कर रहा है, like please don't follow this at home.
No, please don't.
Please don't.
I had a few friends who would do it in front of me, and to your point, I always thought just pointing my finger at them, and that would be insensitive still, pointing my finger at them and being like, yeah, you just want attention. वो वाला गाना है ना, किसका गाना है? You just want attention. है ना? It's that, but I can't sing it. If I had sung it, I'd be famous.
Yes.
Because it was way back
Yes,
then,
and
right?
then I might be calling you to my podcast.
Yeah, then you would have had a podcast.
I know.
What would you have called it? Kya kahegi Nida? No.
Nahin.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
No.
We'll think about it.
We shall.
Yeah.
After we get done with this.
Yeah, because we can't reveal these plans. Top
Yeah,
secret.
not at all. I'm so sorry.
It's
Did
okay.
not
Top
know
secret
it was on
still.
silent.
It's still top secret.
I'm just gonna quickly put this on silent while we do the top secret thing.
Yeah.
It's always on silent, but right now it rings. Anyway.
But so when I was prep 2 May, I suppose I must have been 14, 15. I had a few friends and they would do it to themselves, right? And वो जो मैं आप जब बताए थे, and I was doing that too because I saw them do it. I could never bring myself to do it. I think I had developed other ways of self-harming. Like I would punch walls, which I would later find out कि वो मतलब काजी साहब की उन्होंने इज्जत की नहीं थी, बार वहीं खड़ी रही सिर्फ हाथ में था, you know? But when I was young, 12, 13, I would do that, right? And I would quickly find out कि it hurts too much, right? So just don't do that. Like write or do something else. Listen to a song, drink a lot of Pepsi. I don't know. Do something else. But they would do it, right? And that to your point, I could never imagine what they were going through.
Yeah.
But the last thing I was going to tell them was do better, be stronger, too weak. You know, those weren't the things coming. So I think it is ये जो लोग ये चीजें बोल रहे होते हैं, I think it is something that they grew up with.
Yeah.
This kind of black and white, like
Yeah.
weak, strong, all those things. But yeah, don't know. Allah khair kare. Yeah, I just say something positive so we can end this. I don't want to end it on something so negative. It's so say something positive.
Oh my God! So much pressure. Positive. Oh no. I think the only positive, no, not the only positive thing. The one positive thing that I can say is that just be gentle when you talk to people and realize that a lot of times when we try to fix, we come from our own anxiety. Whether you are a rescuer or I'm a rescuer, वो ज़्यादा मेरी anxiety होती है. मैंने पिछली podcast पे भी कहा था. And I try to reiterate it as much as possible. कि जब कोई आके आपको अपना मसला बताए ना, तो don't try and fix it.
No.
Because you can't.
No.
And a lot of people do that. If I just call you and I'll be like, Kazi, listen, यार मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कि I'm feeling really stressed out. अच्छा, तुमने नौकरी पे तुम्हारा कोई change हुआ है क्या? एक काम करो, बॉस को ये कह दो. अच्छा, बॉस से बात नहीं की तुमने? हाँ, निदा, तुम बॉस से बात करे बगैर तुम अपनी जॉब छोड़ दोगी because you're stressed. ऐसे तो नहीं होता. I didn't ask for your advice or your judgment. I just told you I'm upset.
Yes.
सुन लो.
Yes.
नहीं सुनते लोग. यार, in fact, the one that you found me on the gram with.
Yeah, the gram.
The gram.
Yes. Very hip.
Yeah, very hip.
Yeah.
Woke and hip.
Yes, and woke. Absolutely woke.
So I said at the end of that podcast that if you really want to talk to somebody, please reach out, right? I'll talk to you.
Yes.
Both the times that little podcast or that little interview was put on, and whenever it got views, I get a ton of messages in my inbox. People talking to me saying कि मैंने आपसे बात करनी है, मुझे और समझ नहीं आ रहा किससे बात करूँ, I don't feel okay, I want to talk to somebody, and I try to talk to almost everybody, and I tell them that मैं आपको therapist की capacity में नहीं, I'm just going to sit here and be a human being with you because this is unethical if I do it as therapy on Instagram messages. तो मैं उसमें बिल्कुल नहीं पड़ती. But the kind of things that I get to hear there, all kinds of issues, and it just makes me realize कि कितने लोगों को मसला है उनके पास outlets नहीं है.
That's it.
You know that they're messaging a random person just because they saw her in a video in 2 minutes and they're like, हमें लगता है हम आपसे बात कर सकते हैं.
But also, how afraid of judgment are they? How वही वाली आप वाली बात कि how hopeless is their situation कि यार everyone's gonna judge me, so I have to reach out to someone who's a complete stranger. Who I saw on the gram, and it's ridiculous. मैं जो है ना, I've been. I don't know, yeah, I suppose I'm just going to keep speaking about it with intelligent people like yourself,
Oh my God.
Blushing.
So much blushing.
with people who know, like yourself, I'm going to keep speaking about it till we take it seriously because this is, I think, the problem of our generation, of our era is this.
Mental health.
Mental health. Last time I spoke about Munib Bhai, who was one of the previous podcasts. And I got a few messages from people, male, female, right? Obviously won't mention their names.
Of course.
And they're just like, yeah, you know, I feel horrible. That's it. That's all they said. They didn't say, "Oh, I enjoy." Generic hota hai, I enjoyed your podcast or any of those things. Just that I feel horrible. Some of them, and this was so nerve-wracking for me. I'm just like, yaar, you know,
क्या करूं मैं, क्या करूं?
exactly क्या करूं?
अब नहीं
कैसे?
होता मुझे ऐसे वैसे, वो मुझे क्या करूं नहीं होता.
यार, you're
आ जाएगा, आ जाएगा.
हाँ, आ जाएगा. You're gonna take me under your wing. You're like
Never.
yoga.
I don't want to destroy you.
Yoga. You'll be fine. You're like Yoda. They would send me videos of themselves just crying. Like I'm just like, what? What am I supposed to do here?
Yeah.
And I would say, like all the things that I've spoken against in the past, however long we've been speaking, I would say all of those things. I would be like, Allah khair karega, sab behtar ho jayega inshallah. But they seemed so important, those sentences, because I don't know what's wrong with them. And they would just like, it would just be a video. And अब जो है ना तभी मैं वीडियो जो कोई जिसको मैं नहीं जानता हूँ मैं उसकी वीडियो भी नहीं खोलता हूँ. I don't know what's gonna, because that's more terrifying than anything else to me. Is there's this man or woman or whatever, and they're just crying.
Yeah.
Right? 3 clips straight just crying, and I'm just like, what? Like, and yeah, I don't know what to say to that. So I said generic stuff like Allah khair karega.
Or maybe you could have just said that this seems incredibly hard. Are you okay? What's happening?
You said all those things. They couldn't talk. Like, it was so difficult for them to articulate. I was just like, nahi, to baat kar lete hain, like, and they're like, nahi, I don't want to talk. I'm like, okay.
How were you sitting with that? Just with that, ke baat kar lete hain, उन्होंने कहा नहीं. How were you? Like, it makes you uncomfortable even now.
Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable because I don't want them to hurt themselves. I don't want them to be hurt. I honestly, I think, acha, to, when I was 18, or 18, 19, 20, I was a man. Didn't feel shit. Emotions bounced off me, right? Yeah, and especially, moviयां तो आप दिखा दें. कभी खुशी कभी गम, never cried. उसमें भी नहीं, whoa.
I've never cried either.
I'm kidding, obviously. I cried. No,
I cried on some Lion King. That made me bawl like a baby.
Same. वो जब वो
Musafa मर जाता है.
What the fuck?
Simba.
And he's just like, wake up. I'm like, wake up, right? But as I've grown up and as I've grown into, I think, a level of comfort with my, I suppose, masculinity or my personality generally, ab jo hai, stuff like that, I can't help myself. I just get very, very upset. I'm like, yeah, dekho, I fucking need you to be all right, man. Like, you don't understand.
Kazi को message करना बंद कर दिया आप लोग.
or
Divert them to me,
yeah,
I think.
or happy messages or something.
Just like, be like, life is shit, but it's okay.
Yeah,
Kazi, be happy.
It's fucking all right, man. But because ab jo hai, at this point, like, and I honestly think this is good. I used to think this was bad, like me crying is bad, but it's actually so good, and I'm so happy. That ab if I see, just say, I won't mention any because I'll start crying now. But if I see, like, movie mein, he keeps laughing at me. Movie mein, if I see a baby, right, and you do anything bad to that baby, I'm about to ruin your life, man. My brother, he wants my siblings, all of them, because I'm very afraid of horror movies. So jo nayi wali 8 aayi thi na, they're like, we'll all watch it together, and they're all gangsters. Like, it's not scary. Meanwhile, I'm about to rip this TV into 2 because he's messing with kids, man. You don't do that. Don't mess with kids. You'll just have a bald man just running after you. Yelling profanities.
Another one after Pennywise. Another one.
Uske piche. Just yelling profanities at you. But yeah, and I think that we need to just be all right with that. Like, if you feel bad about it, it's all right to say, like, it's all right. Just agar main aapko bolu, yaar, Nida, I can't take this.
Yeah.
There's incredible power in that.
Of course there is.
It's so profound to just say, yaar,
मेरे बस की बात
नहीं मेरे बस की बात नहीं है. Like even we're talking about therapy works, even in those processing circles, like people would just be like, जो बंदा बात कर रहा है उसके बाद मुझे देखते थे, because I'd just be like, मतलब किसी को क्या करूँ मैं, कुछ बताओ मुझे. It didn't, and people would be like, oh, it's arrogant to assume that you can do this to people, full VIP culture, a guard, what. It was none of that. I didn't think that I was anyone. I didn't think about myself at all. I was just like, this person needs me to do something. I don't understand what. It's often not what I'm thinking they need me to do.
Yeah.
It's often just, you're doing what I need you to do, which is listen.
Yeah.
So I suppose That's positive to end with. Just
yeah,
listen.
the power of listening.
The power of listening. Listen and hurry up, plug your stuff in, like your Facebook and your Instagram. You want?
Oh, I'm okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Guys, I am on Instagram as nida.khan58, I think. It's a random name because I didn't really care for Instagram when I made it. Not that I care much for it now.
Yeah.
Also, I wasn't on my Instagram for the last 3-4 months because I was going through a transformation, but now here I am in all my glory, mashallah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think I will be returning to the gram as well. And I'm on Facebook, but I don't use it. I only use Instagram, so you can follow me there and pray for my movie, guys.
On Amazon Prime.
No, that's already there. The next one is a feature, so let's see.
वो feature मतलब Amazon Prime में नहीं जाएगी. Netflix.
नहीं, पता नहीं, ये तो अल्लाह को खबर है.
Netflix.
नहीं,
Let's
नहीं,
go.
अल्लाह को
Inshallah.
खबर है. I have no idea, guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for
It'd
having me,
be
Kazi.
wonderful to have you on again, inshallah.
Inshallah.
With a lot more lovely insight. Nida Khan, Kazi Akbar. Assalamu alaikum.
That is.